All right, I am back with the second release from the Calumet Farm limited edition Centennial collection in honor of Calumet Farm's 100th anniversary. Today we have the jewel of the collection with the Calumet Farm 18-year-old trophy decanter Centennial Bourbon. I'll admit it, the bottle's beautiful. How's the bourbon inside? And most importantly, will the cork survive? Come right back, it's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here in 2025. Okay, so quick recap here. This collection from Calumet celebrates Calumet Farm, founded in 1924 in Fayette County, Kentucky, which has been home to some legendary racehorses, including 2 Triple Crown winners, 8 Kentucky Derby champions, 2 Belmont Stakes winners, and 11 Hall of Fame inductees. Now, this is one of the 5 releases in the Calumet Centennial collection. It's also the most expensive. All right, so what are the stats? This is an 18-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's bottled at 118 proof. The barrel utilizes a number 4 char. It has a mash bill of 74% corn, 18% rye, and 8% malted barley. It's non-chill filtered, comes in a very beautifully presented trophy decanter for a retail price of $499.99, which is exactly what I paid for this. Just a few things about the bottle here, guys. The bottle is beautiful, very tall. It's got these ridges, which gives it that, whole decanter-esque feel. It's got this really nice gold plate wrap here. This is not paper. This is actually a metal. They're Derby winners, and the Hall of Fame inductees that I all mentioned here, the Kentucky Derby winners, are all engraved on that metal plate wrapped around the bottle, which is pretty cool. Now, there's also a gold band on the bottom of the bottle here, which gives you the proof and a couple of other little details. But inside the box is also very nice. Once you open it, as you guys saw in the close-ups, it has this beautiful red inside with some details about Calumet Farm here on the sides. There's also this pull-out piece of paper here, which comes out. It looks like a little invitation that pulls out. Inside of here, you have some details about the bourbon, and then when you turn the page, you have a tasting note booklet where you can write all your different notes once you taste the whiskey. All right, let's get a pour here. Pray for the cork. I'm gonna be a little bit more gentle than the last one. Hey, it survived. All right, so this is the first pour. I'm gonna let this sit for about 5-10 minutes, and then I'll come right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
All right, so I let this glass sit out about 10 minutes. We are back to nose it. Let's dive in and see what we get. Love the nose on this. It's immediately, I get hit with a cherry and almond note, which is, when you talk about this mash bill, this Barton mash bill, I really feel like at a high age, this is what you should be getting. This seems a bit more oaky than the 17. We'll do a quick compare here soon, but before I let this glass sit for about 10 minutes, before I got off camera and waited about 10 minutes, I actually nosed it, and I wasn't getting as much cherry as I am now. It actually came off from an oaky, but I think the cherry now is coming to the forefront. But I love the combination of the cherry, the almond, and just a ton of baking spices here, cinnamon, nutmeg. This is like black cherry. It's not a bright, or I'm not gonna say black cherry. I think more Luxardo cherry. It's more of like a cherry syrup. So much brown sugar here. This is an exquisite nose on a bourbon for an 18-year. It's actually really, really good. So let's give it a try. Okay. So yeah, even for 1 year, more than the 17, from what I remember, this has more of an oak presence. The oak is there, a lot of spice, just like the 17 was, but way more oak tannin, way more cherry here. I think the cherry is definitely more elevated in the 18 versus the 17. Again, we'll do a quick compare here in a little bit. But the spice of that Luxardo cherry almond combination, I really do think filters to the palate as well. It's really well done. A lot of spice up front. We get a long finish here in the back. This is good. So second sip, it gets a little bit sweeter. I think this is a little bit richer than the 17. I think this has more cherry than the 17. It just feels a little bit more layered. Let's go one more sip before we do a quick compare. Yeah, this almond, cherry, brown butter, brown sugar. I think there's a little bit of a dark honey note in there too. But man, I think that Barton, that mash bill, that cherry note that you normally get in it it's really strong. My only worry here is as it works its way down the bottle, sometimes cherry to this effect can go medicinal cherry. It happened to me with the, I don't know if you guys remember the Wild Turkey 17-year bottle and bond. The Master's Keep that released, 4 or 5 years ago now. That one started off really good cherry, and then it just got real medicinal cherry, like Robitussin, cough syrup, Luden's cough drop, whatever you want to call it. And I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen to this one. So let's compare it to the 17 and see where it stands. All right, so here's the 17. Now, for those of you that want to know, I went through about 15 different corks until I found one that actually was able to fit the bottle. So if this happens to you, if you buy this bottle and your cork breaks, Hard Truth. Hard Truth makes a nice cork that'll fit that bottle. Doesn't fit it super tight, but it's good enough to, actually does fit it pretty good. So there you go, Hard Truth cork. Luckily I had a Hard Truth bottle that was almost empty, so I just killed it and then just grabbed the cork. All right, let's go to the noses here. Yeah, so even just comparing these here off the nose, the 17 I think is much more spice driven. I think a lot of the baking spices that were up front, and a lot of that spiciness, the pepper that you get on the palate, that little bit of like that jalapeno pepper I was talking about, I do think comes through on the nose now, and it's not as sweet as the 18, and it's definitely not as cherry forward as the 18. The 18 has that really dark fruit note to it that I think people really like about this mash bill. Go to the 17 again. I think the 17 leans more traditional bourbon flavors, as I mentioned in the review. And I'll leave the link to the review if you haven't caught the 17 and watched my cork break. But if you compare the two flavor profiles, 17 I think leans heavy into more toffee, brown sugar. I can make a case for honey, but that spice that it has on the back end, the baking spice, your heavy vanillas and caramels, obviously, from a 17 year. There is some oak there, but I feel like it's more prevalent here on the 18. Yeah, that 18, I think the 18 has less spice, more sweet. It still has a great finish to it. But man, yeah, I like the finish on this one. The finish here is a little bit more layered. It's not just all heat and spice. I think the finish actually comes in with like that old leather bomber jacket type of feel to it. But the flavors I think are more layered. I think the 18 overall is actually a little bit of a better bourbon, at least for me. But if you don't like that cherry note, the 17 might be your route. This is a really good bourbon. Again, 500 bucks. We'll have a little bit of a breakdown here in a second, but let me go for one more sip each here. And here's the thing, the more I drink the 18, I feel like the easier it's getting to sip. Yeah, I think at 18 years old, your oak is there. I definitely feel like there's more of an oak presence here on the 18 versus the 17. However, I do think it's sweeter than the 17 is, and I think the finish on the 18 is a little more layered on the finish. There's just a little bit more going on. I think overall, I preferred the 18 versus the 17, which is kind of crazy because even though they're both very, very expensive bottles, this one, you get the decanter and everything, is only $100 more than the 17. Again, I just think the 17 should have been probably about half the price that it is. $200, $250 for this one would have probably been a better price point. I think pricing it at $400 versus $500 for what you get. Before we get to the final breakdown, as I mentioned, I'm gonna start doing questions of the day for each and every video. And if you guys have a question you wanna ask me, you can leave it down in the comments below. So today's question comes from the CLE Cyclist. He says, okay, question, can you tell us about the tattoo on your right forearm? What does it say and what is the story and significance to you? So this tattoo goes all the way up my arm, goes all the way up to the back up here. And basically it says, Viva oggi come son moriato domani, which means live today as if you'll die tomorrow, but in Italian. So obviously there's a significance to it for me being Italian. I thought to have some nice Italian script on my forearm would have been cool. I never really wanted to get a sleeve, but I did want something on my arm, so I thought that was a kind of a cool way to do it. And yeah, live today as if you die tomorrow. I think back when I got the tattoo, that's kind of how I was living my life. I was just making very, very quick, brash decisions at times. As you get older, you're a lot more analytical with some of the life decisions you make. But back then when I got this tattoo, I definitely was not. I was just like diving in. I think there's still some aspects to my life where I just go all in. To me, I always just felt like sometimes when you think too much or you overthink things, then you kind of can lose an opportunity. So while I still probably think more analytically about things and big decisions to make these days, I still think there's a part of me that just wants to dive in and, you know, just get shit done. All right, so thanks for the question of the day. It's time for the final breakdown. Here we go. All right, guys, final breakdown on the Calumet 18 Centennial Decanter bottle. Price for this one, $499.99. Resale market value, I haven't seen these on the resale market value, but again, just like the 17, if they do pop up on the resale, I don't think they're gonna go much over than the retail price since it is so expensive. Availability here is gonna be limited, but don't be surprised like the 17 if these stick around a bit. However, it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to this given the fancy bottle that comes in. Value here, so I think the 17 is a much lower value than this one is. Now look, you always have to factor in the package it comes in. Look, I know you can't drink the package, you can't drink the beautiful bottle that comes in, but there is cost involved in this bottle. So I see why it's $500. Do I wish it was $400? Yes. And do I wish that the 17 was actually only $250 maybe? Yeah, for sure. But I'm not gonna say this is a low value. I'm just gonna say this is below average, because you are getting a very nice presentation for this bottle. The whiskey is 18 years old. I'll just say it's below average. Most I pay is gonna be retail. I don't think it's worth any penny above that. And like I said, buyers may have an opportunity to grab this on sale as time goes on if this doesn't sell right away. This was still sitting around here in Ohio after being out for a week, so it could happen the same way where you are. Alternatives to this one, I'm still gonna go with the same ones. Calumet 15, Calumet 16, you can still get those. For people were posting in the comments in the 17-year video that they can get the Calumet 16 for like $120, $130. So they're getting it even cheaper. Now it doesn't come in the fancy bottle, but those are gonna be your best bets if you wanna try this mash bill with that much of an age statement on it, even though this is, you know, it's not this fancy bottle, but you could still taste that type of whiskey. And lastly, is this a skip, a try before you buy, a buy, or a buy and back it up? I think this one is gonna be a little bit harder to try before you buy, but I'm still gonna say try before you buy for these, just because it's such a high price point. However, I do think this is a better value than the 17. I mean, call me crazy, but this bottle's beautiful. You can't deny it. It's a beautiful, gorgeous bottle. The presentation, I actually think if you're even thinking about the 17, I would just pay the $100 and get this. I think the bourbon is better. And I think it's a better value because the 17, yes, that also comes in a box. It's a nice square bottle. I get it, but I still think that's a way overpriced bottle. At least for this one, you're getting a beautiful box. You're getting this beautiful glass decanter with metal, a cork that's not breaking. So I do think there's a part of me that would be willing, if you're, again, this goes back to if you have the money, if you're into the whole horse thing, the Calumet, the racing, the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont, whatever it is, this might be a nice bottle to have in your collection. And if you want to do that, I would highly recommend the 18 over the 17. I still think this is a better crafted bourbon than the 17, and I'd be willing to pay the money more for this one than the 17, given the price point. However, if you're that person, then I would tell you to grab this one, grab the 18 over the 17, hands down. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching this review on the Calumet 18 Centennial Glass Decanter bottle. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. Does this feel like a better value? Or am I just crazy? Do I feel, maybe because the cork didn't break, I feel like it's a better value. But let me know down in the comments what you think. And if you have any questions of the day for the next episode, please leave them down in the comments below. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers. I'll see you next time right here on The Master and Drum. This is good. I dig it.